අයිබෝන්. In today's lesson, we're going to have a look at a speaking lesson, which is in the advanced level, and we're going to focus on weather and climate. So this will be like a full test where you have part 1, part 2, and part 3. Now, before I begin, I'd like to remind you that the session would be done completely in English. The reason is because now we've done the beginner, we've done the intermediate, and the advanced level focuses on all practice questions, right? And to support you, without just doing the speaking activities, I've also put up for you some sample structured answers that would help you to keep yourself focused on the specific questions. All right? Okay, so a typical part 1, do you like sunny days? Now, when you're answering this, you can say yes or no and give a reason, right? So you could say, yes, I like sunny days because you feel really energetic and I really like the sunny weather, okay? Or you can say not really because when it's sunny, it's really warm and I sweat and I don't like that kind of weather. Answer, I definitely love sunny days. I can hang out with my friends or do some sports. It is even better with the winds blowing. Sunny days are somehow helpful for laundry as well. For laundry as well as cleaning both inside and outside the house. Now what you have to pick out is the linking words, right? And a direct answer. Do you like sunny days? I definitely like sunny days. So I can say, yes, I do. No, I don't. And then give a reason. Don't go bragging too much because this is a part 1. Keep it very short and sweet. Give an answer and a reason as to why you are giving that answer. Next one, what do you like to do when it's a sunny day? What? Sunny day. So when they ask you what you like to do, it's referring to what kind of activities would you like to do. Okay? So here I'd like to talk about the answer which is on the board as well, right? You could pick out the activities that you like to do. You could say, well, I like to play some outdoor sport, or I like to go to the beach, I like to enjoy some ice cream or go for a swim, and then explain as to why you would like to do those activities. Just don't tell us a list of activities. A bit in detail, tell us why you would like to do those activities, all right? I'd love to participate in some outdoor activities under the sun, like meeting up with some friends or do some sport, especially swimming, okay? So do some sports, outdoor activities, meeting up with some friends, swimming, or I'll grab the chance for a photography tour. Everything becomes so clear and stunning on sunny days. No matter whether it's early in the morning or late in the afternoon, as long as the sun shines, I'm sure I'll find inspiration almost everywhere. Photography. Okay, so here the student has picked up on some activities, which is nice. Outdoor activities, meeting up with friends, going for a swim, probably going out for a photography session or photography tour, because it's sunny, and then the student explains why, because he or she will find inspiration almost everywhere because of the nice weather. All right, would you like to stay at home or go outside when the weather is great? Personally, I think that depends. I mean, if I have something important to do at home, like probably my kids are at home, or I have a class, or I have an exam, or I need to mark some papers, I'd rather stay inside. But if I'm free, I'd prefer to go outside and enjoy. What I really like to do is go to the park, sit down and read a book. If not, probably go out to enjoy, go for a jog, maybe go for a swim, because the weather is good and I really love the sunny weather, so I like to enjoy it. Okay? So that's a typical answer where you would just spontaneously give. But looking at a structured answer, I think I would say it depends on my mood and my workload. Something like I said, depends. My mood, workload. I definitely cannot go out and enjoy myself if my work schedule is still a mess. I would agree with that, even though it is a nice weather and unless I feel super energetic and motivated. So you can't just go out and have fun always. Well, typically I can't because if I have work, I've got to mark papers, I've got assignments piled up, and then I've got probably some of the work that I have to do in terms of household chores, or, I have probably sometimes, you just want to sit home and relax. If that's the kind of mood, I wouldn't go out. I think most of the time I prefer staying inside no matter how the sun shines or how cool the weather is. So that's a typical answer the student has picked up on, right? And the student prefers to stay inside. Are there many sunny days in your hometown? Well, I would say yes, because Sri Lanka tends to be a tropical country and we have a more sunny weather throughout the year. But we do have the rainy season, but that's just a few months of the year. So mostly it's a nice sunny and warm weather, and in my hometown where I live, it's most of the time nice and warm. So it is a modern city, so unless it's our rainy season, otherwise the sun would shine most of the time, either during the day or the whole year. Sometimes the temperature rises so high that it feels like burning. That's when people prefer staying indoors, enjoying the cool air produced by air conditioners, right? So, typical thing in Sri Lanka, we prefer to stay indoors during the day because it's really warm. And I remember when I worked in Dubai, it was really warm throughout, okay? I've not been there when it was the rainy season, but it was really warm and we used to be always in the aircon because the weather was so warm always. And staying inside or staying indoors was something that I preferred the most, right? So if the temperature is really warm and you've got high temperatures, it feels like it's burning outside, people prefer to stay indoors. Again, during, otherwise, temperature, okay, sometimes, so nice words to think about. And then you could see the use of contractions, that's. You can say it's. Here as well we could say it's. Use more contractions because when you speak, you use more contractions naturally. All right? Does it rain much in your country? Where and when? Well, I would say it doesn't rain a lot, but it does rain. And when it is the rainy season, so does it rain much in your country? Where and when? Well, Sri Lanka is a country that does have a rainy season, and certain months of the year it does rain. So example, July, August, October, November, and where I'm in all parts of Sri Lanka. But out of the context, I think Nuwara sometimes has more rain and it tends to have a colder and rainy season longer than the other parts of Sri Lanka. So, to be honest, I don't know when it rains. I just told certain months, but you could do the same. I mean, you don't have to give an honest answer. If you don't know, give an answer which is grammatically correct and where you could get some marks for the question. I would say yes, it has a lot of rain in the summer when tropical storms strike our country. There is a torrential rain in the region in June, July and August, and the rainfall tends to be higher in the north than in the south. Okay, so months, which parts, where, when, does it? Yes. Answer the question always. What I see is most students don't answer the question and they just go on and on and on talking about different things. Remember part 1, always give an answer and a reason, or explain why you're giving that answer. Is there any part of your country where it doesn't rain much? So if you're not sure, right, you just don't say, well, I don't know. Don't do that, okay? Here's a nice way to put it across. To tell you the truth, I have no clue about this. I do not give a hoot about geography and the amount of rain in my country. I think the most rainfall is in the north where there is an intricate system of rivers, okay? I want to pick up on this. I don't give a hoot about geography. I mean, I wouldn't really want you to use this kind of one, right? But you could say, well, I'm not a person interested in geography that much, okay? That would be a better answer without saying, oh, I don't give a hoot about geography. It means I don't care at all in terms of geography, right? It seems too informal to use, right? It is kind of an idiomatic expression though, right? But I would prefer if you would not use such informal idiomatic expressions, but some could argue saying it's okay. So it's nice for you to come across this and also learn that you could put it in another way, right? Does it rain a lot in your hometown? Well, it depends on the season. In winter and spring, there is a dearth of rain associated with the arid weather, right? Sometimes when there's no or little rain, we say arid weather. In contrast, it is usually raining cats and dogs in summer. Raining cats and dogs, again, idiomatic expression, okay? That means it's raining a lot. In summer and August, okay, so A could be capital, preferably A capital, causing loads of troubles for people traveling on the road, okay? So if I was to answer this, does it rain a lot in your hometown? Well, where I live, it doesn't rain a lot, but during the rainy seasons, that is during the months of July and August, September, it does rain. But I wouldn't say it's a lot. Now this is a typical speaking part 2. Now what we did is part 1 questions. Now if you can remember, part 1 you will have different topics, right? So you will have 12 questions and you will have 3 different topics, 4 questions from each topic. So I can't do that because we're doing weather, we're on a specific topic. So that's why I picked out all the probable questions for part 1, and now we're going to look at part 2 questions around weather and climate. Describe your favorite season or time of the year. So when you say season, you could take the 4 seasons, right? Not everything 1. Describe your favorite. So it's 1. Winter, spring, summer, autumn. Out of the 4, 1 which you like, or time of the year. Okay. So do you like the summer time? Would you like the rainy season? Okay. So which time of the year do you prefer? What time is this? What the weather is like during that time? What do you usually do during this time, and explain why it is your favorite time. Now, when you are doing this, remember you make notes, okay? So I would say this is during which time? This is in December. What is the weather like? Winter, cold, snow, right? What do you usually do during this time? Skiing. Christmas, shopping. So you could write different things. Why is this your favorite time of the year? It's white, cool, festive, family. I just write those words down. And then I start explaining it. Well, the favorite time of the year that I like most is during December, and the weather during this time is the season is winter season, so the weather is really cold, right? It could drop even to minus. And you explain what kind of activities would you do during that time, and explain why. I like this because this is a festive time and all around the world people are in a happy mood, and it's always a family time during December. So you could explain more about it. Now let's have a look at a sample answer. I think my favorite time of the year is spring. The main reason I like it is because it's neither freezing nor scorching hot. Nice word. In some places I've lived, such as, you can give some places if you have lived elsewhere, it rains most of the spring. But I was mainly thinking of when I lived in Sydney. It was so beautiful. The sky is blue and the weather is nice and warm. The flowers start to bloom and the leaves on the trees turn green. So it's kind of picturesque. You can see when the sentences are being told, it kind of pops into your head. Blue sky, nice, and the trees starting to turn green. Okay? Since Sydney has many parks, my family and I would often go for picnics in the park. So that is answering what the time is, weather is like answered. Now getting what we usually do during that time. So signposting is important, okay? Since Sydney has many parks, my family and I would often go for picnics, things that you would do. In the parks where we could play badminton, eat, rest, and look at all the plants and flowers. Our favorite park was the Botanical Garden. It had so many different kinds of plants, trees, and flowers. Another thing I like to do during springtime is to get up early and climb mountains. There was one mountain near our house called ABC. It wasn't so high, but there were no steps, only a few rough trails. Another thing I like about spring is that when all the animals are born, right? That's when you can see little baby squirrels, dogs, cats, snakes, and spiders. The air always seems fresher in the spring. The sky is more blue, the grass is greener, and the people friendlier, or at least I think so, right? So that is why these are some of the things that the student does during that specific time and why it is a favorite time of the year, merged kind of together. So, looking at speaking part 3 questions, right? How do the different seasons affect the lifestyle of the people in your country? Now remember, part 3 questions you have to explain a lot. Typically, if you could follow a body para of a writing paragraph, that would be good. Introduce the topic, explain, give an example, and round off the idea. If you can do that, it would be better. I mean, even if you don't, that's fine. But if you do it, it's good. And try to build that rapport with the examiner. More lengthy answers are required when it comes to part 3, right? So in places like ABC, where it's always hot, there aren't many extreme weather changes to worry about. But, so that's a linker. But in other places such as XYZ, the weather changes so drastically from summer to winter that it affects lifestyles. Now I have put ABC, you can pick and choose the areas you want to name. During the winter, the weather may go below 0, and in summer it may get hot as 40 Celsius. That means you have to have different kinds of clothes for each season. Also in the winter you might need heating, and in the summer it is most likely that you might have to use a fan or an air conditioner. A friend of mine uses both, right? So here the student talks about how different seasons affect the lifestyle. Okay, so you can see that during winter it's cold, so you need a heater and you need warmer clothes, and it kind of changes how people behave as well. Whereas in summer it's warm, you need fans or air cons, right? Air conditioners, and people like to go out more, have an ice cream, and go for a swim. Those are the kind of things that people do. So their clothes also change, and their much more happier lifestyles also change accordingly. How does the climate of a place affect the kind of buildings that are built there, right? So climate affect kind of buildings built there. Well, if the climate is hot, then the builders will construct the buildings to stay as cool as possible. But if you're in a cold climate, then you might find double insulation on the windows, or the houses will be built to retain heat as much as possible. It's quite common to see a house with a bunch of open porches and verandas in a hot climate, and probably every room will have a hole for an air conditioning vent. But colder climates will most likely have central heating. Okay, so buildings are constructed differently depending on the climate. So if we live in a colder country which has a colder weather throughout the year than a warm one, then obviously it will be insulated, and they build the houses or the buildings to ensure that you keep as much as possible heat, retain heat as much as possible. But if you're in like a warmer climate, then we have a lot of verandas, porches, windows, right? And we open the windows every time, and we have more fans and air conditioners. Whereas if it was a colder country, we would have central heating to ensure that we retain the heat within the house or the building. Do you think fighting global climate change is governmental responsibility or the responsibility of the individual? I think it's 50-50. Individuals are responsible because they need to act responsible in order to minimize or to fight global warming, whereas the government should also impose strict rules and regulations to support and make sure that we reduce global warming. As the saying goes, many hands make light work. Nice. If the government and individuals work together on the climate problems, there will be many changes and more progress will be made. Of course, more responsibility should fall on the shoulder of the government because they have the means to do more than the average citizen. But means a nice signposting word. That shouldn't stop ordinary people from doing their parts. So as I told you, it's 50-50 and both parties should work together. Right, so I think now in this lesson, we had a look at some good important questions. Now, if you take climate and weather, right, these are kind of rare things that people look into, right? But a probable area, probable type of questions that you could get for the IELTS exam. Now, most students are not comfortable talking about climate change, and when you talk about buildings and climate, they just get stuck. They're like, miss, what can we say, right? So that's why I thought this would be useful for you to give an insight about the different types of words, vocabulary that you could pick up on, right? So even taking this question, can you see individuals and the government work together, okay? Responsibility. But the government should be more responsible because they can do better than an average citizen. So these kind of words show your range of language as well as accuracy using them. And here, if you can see, a mix of simple and complex sentence structures are being used. So that is another thing. Now, obviously, fluency, I have put up for you the answer, right? But you can obviously not look at the answer and give your own answer. And if you can reduce the, you know what I mean, kind of fillers and hesitation devices, then you could score a better mark for your fluency, right? So coherence and cohesion, that is obviously linking your ideas together without just sounding weird when you take ideas from all over. That is really important, okay? So looking at these questions like, you know, the effect in terms of the buildings, these are unusual questions but could come up for the exam. How people feel happy, dull, gloomy, hungry, feelings. So you should be able to talk about feelings when it comes to a question like this. And the lifestyle, right? How do people change time to time in terms of how they live, right? Lifestyle is how they live. So we've had a look at some part 3 questions. We've also had a look at a good sample for part 2, right? This wasn't that difficult, but now what I want to pick up is don't come out with difficult things. You know, it's during this season and that season, you don't know to talk about it. Winter, summer, easy because you know what to talk about, and most students have a lot of vocabulary around those seasons and, you know, the things that you could do during those seasons. So don't end up yourself by trying to give honest answers and then you don't have any vocabulary. Think smart, act smart for the IELTS exam. So pick and choose things that you could talk about. Don't pick and choose you know, occasions or seasons that you don't know about and that you can't express yourself. All right? So then we had a look at some part 1 questions. And with that, I think we've had a nice look at this lesson, which was covering weather and climate, but in terms of speaking, part 1, part 2, and part 3 in your advanced level speaking component.